Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy History Channel. Tonight, we are drifting into the story of technology, following how human survival grew into the quiet systems that now surround us. Technology rises from human curiosity, and over time, it shapes the rhythm of our lives. It changes how we eat, how we travel, how we heal, how we fight, and how we imagine the future. It can grow slowly for centuries and can suddenly reshape everything in a single lifetime. This journey moves through moments where simple ideas grew into powerful forces, where accidents quietly became breakthroughs, and where curiosity moved faster than fear. It is a history shaped by bold leaps and unintended consequences, by forgotten contributors, and by tools so familiar we often forget how astonishing they truly are. Each step forward leaves a trace, shaping culture, reshaping society, and gently altering the human mind itself. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, there is nothing you need to do except get comfortable. Let your shoulders soften. Allow your breathing to slow, and allow the day to fade away as we explore how technology came to shape the world around you and the world within you. Let's begin. The mechanical clock trained societies to think in minutes. Before precise clocks, time was often local and flexible. A day was shaped by sunrise, seasons, and the rhythm of work. Mechanical clocks introduced a different kind of discipline. They broke time into equal slices, and they displayed those slices in a way that crowds could share. Bells could signal when markets opened, when meetings began, and when labor started or stopped. Over generations, people began to plan around the clock rather than around the sky. That shift sounds small until you notice what it enables. Regular schedules make factories efficient. Timetables make long-distance travel safer and more predictable. Contracts and wages become easier to standardize. Even personal habits change because punctuality becomes a social expectation. A clock is not only a machine that measures, it is a machine that teaches. It trains whole communities to live inside a grid of hours and to treat a minute as something that can be saved, spent, or wasted. Eyeglasses quietly extended working lives and changed who could read. As people age, many struggle to focus on close work. In earlier centuries, that could mean the end of skilled tasks like copying texts, stitching fine patterns, carving details, or reading by lamplight. Eyeglasses changed that story. With shaped lenses, craftsmen could keep practicing their trades longer. Scholars could keep studying. Merchants could keep checking accounts and correspondence. That extension of clear vision created a hidden boost to knowledge because experience stayed active instead of fading early. Glasses also widened access. Reading became less limited by eyesight, which mattered as books and documents became more common. There is a softness to this technology. It draws no attention to itself. It rests on a face and brings edges and lines back into focus, while its impact reaches far beyond that moment. A society where more people can see clearly for more years is a society with deeper expertise, stronger institutions, and more continuity between generations. The first printing boom created misinformation almost immediately. When printing became cheaper and faster, it did not only amplify wisdom, it amplified everything. Sensational stories, forged documents, and fierce rumors could be reproduced at scale and sold for profit or influence. A printed page looks authoritative, even when it is wrong. That new aura of credibility made deception more efficient. Religious conflicts and political rivalries quickly learned to use pamphlets as weapons. Readers were forced into a new skill. They had to judge sources, compare accounts, and notice when a text was trying to provoke rather than inform. Authorities responded with censorship and licensing, which created another struggle over who could speak publicly. The important point is not that people suddenly became dishonest. People have always lied. The change was distribution. A falsehood could travel farther, faster, and with the weight of ink behind it. In that sense, misinformation is not a modern invention. It is an old companion that grows whenever communication scales up. A single broken code once decided the fate of an entire war. Wars are often remembered as clashes of steel and courage, yet sometimes the turning point is a message that stops being secret. In the Second World War, German U-boats hunted ships across the Atlantic, and Britain depended on those ships for food, fuel, and weapons. The struggle became a battle of information. When Allied codebreakers learned to read parts of the Enigma traffic, convoys could be rerouted away from wolf packs, and hunters could become the hunted. It created a precious advantage measured in lives and tons of cargo. A cracked cipher can shorten a war without firing a shot. It can also teach a lasting lesson. In a connected world, secrecy is a technology too. Standard time zones were built for trains, not for clocks. In the age of local time, noon meant when the sun reached its highest point. That worked fine until railways stitched cities together. A timetable collapses when every station keeps a different clock. Trains needed coordination to avoid collisions, missed connections, and chaos in freight schedules. So time zones emerged as an agreement, not a natural law. Communities had to accept that their official time might differ from their sky. That compromise created a new kind of order. It made long-distance travel predictable, and it made commerce easier to synchronize. It also shaped daily life. Factory shifts, school hours, and broadcast schedules all rely on shared time. There is a quiet strangeness in this. A nation can decide what time it is. Then everyone lives inside that choice. Time zones show how technology can change something that feels untouchable and turn it into infrastructure. The steam engine did not start industry, it supercharged everything. People often picture the Industrial Revolution as a sudden burst, yet many crafts were already thriving with water wheels, windmills, and muscle. Steam changed the scale and the freedom. Water power tied a mill to a river. Steam could work anywhere fuel could be delivered. Mines could be drained deeper. Factories could be built near ports, cities, and workers. Machines that once depended on seasons could run on demand. That new reliability created a new rhythm of life. It pulled people into growing towns. It sped up production and lowered prices, which increased demand, which demanded more production. Steam did not invent ambition. It gave ambition a stronger engine. Even travel transformed. Railways stitched regions together with schedules that people had to obey. The great shift was not only mechanical, it was social, economic, and deeply human. Penicillin's breakthrough depended on a messy lab and sharp eyes. A cluttered workspace is usually a warning sign, yet one untidy moment helped change medicine. Alexander Fleming noticed that a mold contaminating a petri dish seemed to kill nearby bacteria. The key was not the mold alone. The key was attention. Many people would have tossed the spoiled dish and moved on. Fleming looked closer, asked why, and shared what he saw. Years later, other scientists and teams figured out how to purify penicillin and produce it at scale, especially under the pressures of war. Together, they turned an observation into a usable treatment. The result was a new era where infections that once killed swiftly could be fought with targeted drugs. The story is thrilling, because it shows how discovery can hinge on small decisions. A spill, a mistake, a forgotten plate, then a mind that refuses to ignore the odd detail. Progress can arrive through the side door if someone is awake enough to notice. A cheap, simple lens helped reveal an entire hidden universe. A single lens can feel ordinary until you remember what it made possible. When early microscopists refined glass and patience, they discovered that familiar surfaces were crowded worlds. Drops of pond water contained creatures that moved with purpose. Tooth scrapings held bustling communities. Blood showed cells, which hinted that bodies were built from tiny living units. That revelation changed medicine and biology at the root. Disease could be traced to organisms too small to see unaided. Spoilage and fermentation stopped being mysteries and became processes with actors. Even the idea of cleanliness took on a new seriousness once invisible life had a face. The lens was not expensive by the standards of empires. Its power came from access. A tool that many people could use meant many eyes could confirm what one person claimed. A hidden universe became shared reality. Electricity went from parlor trick to world-changing infrastructure in one lifetime. At first, electricity was entertainment. People watched sparks jump, hair stand on end, and metal rings dance on charged rods. It felt like a clever curiosity, dramatic and fleeting. Then experiment stacked on experiment. Batteries turned bursts into steady flow. Generators turned motion into current. Suddenly electricity could be tamed, measured, and delivered. Lighting extended the working day and changed how streets felt at night. Motors brought rotation to factories without belts from a central shaft. Telegraphy and telephony turned current into language. Power lines became a new kind of road, carrying energy instead of carts. What makes this transformation so astonishing is its speed. Within a span that fit inside one human life, electricity shifted from spectacle to dependence. Once it arrived, cities grew around it, and homes began to assume it would always be there. The wheel arrived late, long after boats and woven cloth. It feels obvious that rolling would come early, yet history plays tricks on intuition. People were weaving fibers into cloth and building boats before they were using wheels for transport. A wheel needs more than a round shape. It needs smooth roads, strong axles, and a way to keep the wheels centered while carrying heavy loads. In rough terrain, dragging a sled can be easier than a cart that sinks and shudders. Once the wheel did take hold, it spread into far more than travel. It powered potter's wheels, which shaped ceramics with speed and symmetry. It drove gears, mills, and early machines that turned motion into work. The wheel is not one invention. It is a system of surfaces, bearings, and infrastructure. That is why it waited. When the supporting pieces finally lined up, rolling became an everyday miracle. The same invention can reshape warfare, medicine, and how families talk. A good way to feel the power of technology is to follow one tool as it changes masks. Consider radio. In wartime, it can guide fleets through fog, coordinate aircraft, and carry coded orders faster than any runner. In hospitals, the same physics becomes imaging and monitoring, turning invisible signals into life-saving decisions. At home, it becomes companionship, news, music, and the comforting sense that the wider world can fit inside a kitchen. The real marvel is not the gadget. It is the chain reaction. Once a society can send information through air, it reorganizes time, distance, and authority. Armies move differently. Doctors notice patterns earlier. Families stay connected across oceans. One idea becomes many lives, depending on who holds the dial. The elevator made skyscrapers practical and rewrote urban land value. Before safe elevators, upper floors were punishment. The higher you lived, the more stairs you climbed, and the less desirable your address became. Elevators flipped that logic. Once people could rise quickly and comfortably, height turned into prestige. Offices moved upward. Apartments with views became coveted. Cities began to grow vertically, not only outward. That shift changed land value in a very direct way. A small plot could generate far more rent if it could host many floors of usable space. It also changed architecture and engineering. Stronger frames, deeper foundations, and new safety systems became essential partners to the lift. Elevators even changed social patterns inside buildings. They created shared spaces where strangers crossed paths, and they made daily movement feel more fluid. A city skyline is not just steel and glass. It is also cables, motors, and trust in a door that closes, then carries you into the sky. One tiny chip can hold more memories than a whole ancient library. For most of history, memory needed shelves, scribes, and fragile materials. Clay tablets could crack. Papyrus could rot. Even when books survived, copying them took years of human attention. Then came the strange miracle of storing information as patterns smaller than dust motes. A modern memory chip holds billions of bits, each one a tiny choice between states. Packed together, those choices can carry whole shelves of text, photographs, maps, and voices. That density changes what a person can carry through the world. It also changes what a society can preserve. A lost notebook is tragedy. A lost phone can be a library vanishing in a moment. The awe is not only the amount stored. It is the speed, the portability, and the way personal history now fits in a pocket. Roman concrete still outlasts many modern mixes in seawater. Roman builders created harbors and piers that have faced waves for centuries, and some still hold together with stubborn grace. Part of the secret lies in ingredients. They used volcanic ash in certain regions, and when it mixed with lime and seawater, it could form new minerals over time. Instead of slowly falling apart, parts of the material could become more interlocked. That is a different philosophy from much modern concrete, which is often designed for speed, consistency, and predictable strength under standard conditions. Roman construction was also a craft of observation. Builders learned what worked in local environments, then repeated it with disciplined methods. The result is not magical. It is experimental knowledge preserved in stone. A seawall is a harsh test, since salt water attacks weaknesses. The fact that some Roman marine structures endure reminds us that ancient technology could be both practical and surprisingly sophisticated. Paper started as an administrative tool before it became culture. It began as a solution to a very practical problem. States needed records that were light to carry, quick to copy, and cheap enough for everyday use. Paper made it easier to track taxes, store laws, issue orders, and keep inventories without hauling clay tablets or scraping parchment. Once that habit of writing spread, something unexpected happened. The same material that served accountants and officials also became a stage for imagination. Poems traveled farther. Letters connected families across long distances. Students could practice without fear of wasting precious surfaces. Artists found new ways to sketch, paint, and print. Even religion and philosophy changed because teachings could be duplicated and circulated more easily. A bureaucracy wanted control and continuity. Paper delivered that. Then it slipped the leash and became a tool for memory, creativity, and public argument. The printing press turned whispers into revolutions across continents. Before mass printing, ideas traveled at the speed of handwriting. Copies were rare, expensive, and easy to change. A rumor could vanish. A new argument could die with the one person who knew it. Printing altered that balance. Once pages could be reproduced quickly, the same words could appear in many towns, in the same order, with the same force. Pamphlets could challenge kings. Translations could reach people who never learned Latin. Scientists could build on each other's work without relying on second-hand summaries. The press did not only spread knowledge, it spread disputes, satire, propaganda, and bold new identities. A shared text can create a shared movement. It can also create shared outrage. The shock of it is simple. Multiply words, and you multiply change. The first global network was built for horses, not computers. Long before cables and satellites, empires needed a way to move messages faster than marching armies. They built networks of roads and relay stations where riders could change horses and keep going. In Persia, the royal courier system linked distant provinces through disciplined handoffs. Later, the Mongol Yan stretched across Eurasia with posts that supplied fresh mounts, food, and shelter. These were not just travel routes. They were information engines. Orders, taxes, intelligence, and news moved in a steady flow. A ruler could respond to trouble before it spread. Merchants could plan safer journeys. Even culture traveled in the wake of fast messages. It feels modern because it is modern in spirit. A network is not defined by electricity. It is defined by relays, standards, and trust that the next station will be ready. A forgotten, impossible experiment became the seed of modern electronics. In the early days of radio, some experimenters played with crystals like galena, touching them with a fine wire called a cat's whisker. It looked like a toy, yet it could pull speech and music out of the air with no glowing tubes at all. The effect felt almost impossible. How could a cold mineral act like a one-way gate for electricity? That little mystery was a doorway into semiconductors. Inside certain materials, electrons do not behave like obedient marbles. They follow rules that depend on structure, impurities, and energy. Years later, engineers learned to control those rules on purpose. They built components that could switch and amplify with tiny currents and little heat. The world of chips did not begin with a sleek factory. It began with curious hands, a stone, and a whisper of signal. The internet began as a fragile idea for surviving catastrophe. The early problem was sobering. If a crisis destroyed part of a communication system, could the rest keep working? The answer required a new approach. Instead of sending one continuous message along a single path, information could be chocked into packets, sent by different routes, and reassembled at the end. That design made the network resilient, since it could reroute around damage or congestion. In the late 1960s, researchers linked a few computers in an experiment that became ARPANET. It was small, technical, and uncertain. What grew from it was not inevitable. It depended on shared standards, open protocols, and people who believed cooperation could scale. Over time, networks of networks became the internet, and packets carried far more than emergency messages. They carried friendships, commerce, heart, and entire communities. A plan for survival became a new habitat for human life. Stone tools stayed essential for longer than all written history combined. If you could walk back through time, you would find a surprise waiting almost everywhere. People who had no writing still carried sophisticated toolkits of shaped stone. Hand axes, scrapers, and blades were not crude placeholders. They were reliable technology refined through countless generations of trial and teaching. Stone was widely available, it held an edge, and it could be repaired with careful strikes. Even after metals appeared, stone did not vanish overnight. In many places, it remained the practical choice for daily tasks, from preparing food to working hides and wood. The deep wonder is the timescale. Written records cover a thin slice of human life. Stone tools cover an ocean of time where innovation still happened, just without ink. Long before books, the world was already full of engineers. Fire control was humanity's first technology for changing biology. When humans learned to keep fire, they did more than light the dark. They changed what a body could be. Cooking softens food, reduces harmful microbes, and unlocks more calories from the same meal. That extra energy can support bigger brains and longer childhoods. Fire also reshaped nights. Warmth and light extended waking hours and created a circle where stories, skills, and warnings could be shared. It offered protection too. Predators that owned the darkness suddenly hesitated at the edge of flames. Fire hardened wooden spear points, it baked clay, and it made new materials possible. It also demanded planning. A flame has to be fed, sheltered, and transported. Keeping it alive taught patience and cooperation. A controlled campfire is not only a tool. It is a doorway where ecology, diet, safety, and social life begin to shift together. The needle quietly revolutionized survival, fashion, and social status. A needle seems small enough to miss, yet it changes the whole story of staying alive. With a sharp point and a bit of thread, people could turn loose skins into fitted clothing. That meant warmth that stayed close to the body and protection in colder climates. It also meant carrying less bulk while traveling. Over time, sewing became a way to shape identity. Patterns, beadwork, and decorative stitching could signal group membership, skill, or rank. The needle also created new kinds of storage. Pouches, straps, and layered garments made it easier to transport tools and food. This is technology that works at arm's length, guided by touch and patience. It does not roar like a machine. It whispers. Yet it helps a family endure winter, and it helps a society express who belongs where and why. Early glue came from trees and held the first weapons together. Long before hardware stores, people learned that trees carried hidden chemistry. Sticky resins could be warmed, mixed with ash or crushed minerals, and turned into tough adhesives. This was not a minor convenience. It allowed composite tools. A sharp stone point could be fixed to a wooden shaft, and the whole weapon became more powerful than either part alone. A blade could be set into a handle that fit the palm, which made cutting safer and more precise. Adhesives also helped repair broken tools, which mattered when good stone was far away. Making glue required timing and control. Heat it too little and it stayed brittle. Heat it too much and it burned. So this was material science, learned by campfire light. A resin seam might look humble, yet it represents a leap. It is the moment humans began building objects from chosen parts. Ancient irrigation turned deserts into food engines for empires. Water is a quiet dictator. It decides where people can settle, what crops can grow, and how many mouths a region can feed. Irrigation breaks that rule. By cutting canals, building dikes, and timing floods, early societies learned to move rivers like living tools. In Mesopotamia, fields could bloom where rain was not reliable. Along the Nile, flood cycles became a calendar that tied farming to the sky. These systems demanded coordination. Someone had to maintain channels, settle disputes, and plan for drought. That pressure helped create bureaucracy, record-keeping, and organized labor. Irrigation also created risks. Salt could build up in soil. Canals could silt in. A single breach could ruin a season. This is why it is so fascinating. It is technology that feeds millions, while also reshaping politics, class, and the fragile relationship between people and their landscape. Bronze was a trade network you could hold in your hand. Bronze is not just a metal. It is a story about distance. To make it, you need copper and tin, and those two ingredients are not always found together. That meant communities had to reach outward. Traders moved ore, ingots, and finished tools across mountains and seas. A bronze blade could carry the fingerprints of many places. One region mined copper. Another supplied tin. Another forged and polished the final object. This web of exchange spread more than goods. It spread styles, beliefs, and practical knowledge about smelting and casting. Bronze also encouraged standardization. When metal becomes valuable, you start measuring it, guarding it, and controlling who gets access. In that way, bronze helped shape early power structures. The astonishing part is how physical it feels. Hold a bronze tool, and you are holding evidence of ancient logistics, diplomacy, and trust. Iron spread because forests ran out, not because iron was better. Iron is famous for replacing bronze, yet the reasons are more complicated than a simple upgrade. In many places, bronze was excellent. The problem was supply. Tin could be scarce or far away, and trade routes can break. Iron ore is often more common. When societies learned how to work it, they gained a material that did not depend on a fragile network. There was another pressure too. Smelting metal consumes fuel. As populations grew, nearby forests could be cut faster than they could recover. That forced people to adapt by improving furnaces, changing fuels, and finding new sources. Ironworking demanded higher temperatures and careful control, which pushed innovation in tools and techniques. So iron's rise is a tale of constraints. People did not only chase a better metal, they responded to shortages, landscapes, and the hard limits of their own success. Technology often advances because the old way becomes unsustainable. The first coins made trust portable and changed what power meant. Before coins, trade could be personal and slow. You measured grain, weighed metal, or relied on reputation. Coins changed the mood of exchange. A stamped piece of metal carried an authority's promise about weight and value. It could pass between strangers without a long conversation. That portability made markets expand. Soldiers could be paid on the move. Taxes could be collected more systematically. Long-distance trade became easier to organize, since value could travel without herds or carts of goods. Coins also changed politics. If a ruler controls the mint, that ruler can influence the economy. Images on coins spread messages too. A face, a symbol, or a slogan could circulate farther than any speech. The marvel is that money became a technology of belief. People accepted a coin because other people accepted it. That shared agreement let cities grow more complex, and it made power feel measurable in the palm. Stirrups reshaped battle by letting riders strike with full force. A rider without stable footing has to fight like a careful acrobat. Balance becomes the limiting factor. With stirrups, the horse and rider become a single system. The rider can stand, brace, and transfer weight through the legs. That makes it possible to swing harder, to absorb impact, and to stay mounted during chaos. It also changes how armies organize. Heavy cavalry becomes more effective, which can shift the value of armor, training, and horses themselves. A noble class can rise around the cost of maintaining mounted fighters, and politics can tilt toward those who can afford that technology. The ripple travels beyond the battlefield. Roads, breeding programs, and saddle design all evolve to support the new style of movement. Something as small as a foot loop can rebalance power across regions simply by letting a person stay steady on a running animal. The compass helped sailors cross open oceans without hugging coasts. For early sailors, land was a lifeline. Coasts offered landmarks, shelter, and a way to correct mistakes. A compass changed the feeling of the sea. It gave direction when clouds hid the sun and when familiar stars disappeared. With that steady reference, voyagers could cut across open water rather than creeping along shorelines. That opened new trade routes and new kinds of exploration. It also changed navigation into a discipline of measurement, planning, and recorded knowledge. Maps improved because sailors could compare headings with travel time and with what they encountered. Danger did not vanish. Storms still roared and wooden ships still leaked. Yet the compass reduced the terror of being directionless. It offered a simple promise. Even when nothing around you makes sense, north still points the same way. That kind of certainty is powerful enough to redraw the world's connections. Gunpowder began as a search for immortality, not destruction. In medieval China, some alchemists mixed ingredients while hunting for life-extending elixirs. Instead of immortality, they found a substance that burned with startling force. At first, its role was not purely violent. It powered fireworks that turned festivals into thunder and light. It appeared in signals, in smoke, and in weapons that were as much spectacle as strategy. Over time, armies learned what it could do to walls and armor. Fortifications thickened. Castles changed shape. Rulers who controlled cannons gained leverage over rivals who relied on older defenses. The deeper twist is that gunpowder did not simply add a new weapon. It rewrote the economics of war, the design of cities, and the pace of conquest. A lab experiment meant to conquer death ended up reshaping how states fought for power and how people imagined terror and awe. Double-entry bookkeeping made capitalism scalable and empires bankable. A growing business is a storm of promises. Goods are shipped, credit is extended, debts are owed, and profits are guessed at unless someone can track the whole picture. Double-entry bookkeeping brought a clean logic to that chaos. Every transaction is recorded in two places, so the books can reveal mistakes and show where value truly moved. That seems like paperwork, yet it changes what is possible. Investors gain confidence because accounts can be checked. Partnerships can grow because trust can be audited. Banks can lend more boldly because risk can be measured. Governments can borrow, tax, and manage large projects with greater precision. The system also shapes mindset. It encourages thinking in balance sheets, in assets and liabilities, in long-term planning, rather than immediate barter. A well-run ledger becomes a kind of machine for expanding complexity. It turns commerce into something that can scale beyond a village, beyond one lifetime, and beyond personal memory. Coffee houses became technology hubs, where ideas traded like currency. In the early modern world, a coffee house could function like a living bulletin board. People gathered for conversation, but also for news, pamphlets, and arguments that tested new ideas in public. Merchants compared shipping information. Scientists debated experiments. Writers listened for stories. In some cities, these spaces helped fuel insurance markets, stock trading, and professional networks because they concentrated attention and information. One room. Coffee played its part by sharpening alertness, which mattered in an age when many drank weak beer for safety. Yet the deeper power was social. A coffee house mixed classes and professions in ways that private salons did not. It rewarded persuasion, wit, and evidence, at least in theory. That made it a surprising engine for innovation. New devices, new businesses, and new political movements often needed more than a brilliant inventor. They needed a place where strangers could connect, challenge, and recruit. A cup of coffee became a ticket into a network. The scientific method became a tool as powerful as any machine. It is easy to imagine science as a collection of facts, yet its real power is the method. Ask a question that can be tested. Make a prediction. Run an experiment that others can repeat. Let results change your beliefs, even when pride resists. That discipline turns curiosity into a reliable engine for discovery. It also creates a strange kind of humility. Nature gets the final vote. Over time, this approach transformed scattered observations into bodies of knowledge that could be used and improved. Medicine shifted toward trials and evidence. Engineering gained formulas that worked beyond one craftsman's intuition. Astronomy became a way to predict, not just to wonder. The method also built communities. Scientists could disagree, then resolve arguments through shared tests rather than duels of status. A tool like a microscope reveals what is small. A tool like the scientific method reveals what is true, or at least what is truer than yesterday. That is why it rivals any physical invention. Vaccination spread through persuasion, risk, and astonishing luck. Long before doctors understood viruses, communities noticed a startling pattern. People who survived certain diseases often did not catch them again. That observation led to bold experiments, some careful and some reckless. In parts of Asia and the Ottoman world, practitioners tried early forms of inoculation that carried real danger. The idea then traveled through letters, demonstrations, and fierce arguments. It needed champions who could convince frightened parents, and it needed public proof during outbreaks. When Edward Jenner tested cowpox as protection against smallpox, success did not end the controversy. People feared side effects, doubted motives, and resisted mandates. Still, the practice spread because results were hard to ignore. Over time, vaccination became one of history's most powerful bargains. A controlled, smaller risk could prevent a far greater one, and the payoff could echo across generations. The telegraph made news faster than any human could travel. For most of history, breaking news moved at the speed of a horse, a ship, or a tired pair of legs. The telegraph snapped that rule in half. With coded pulses, a message could leap between cities in minutes, even when storms or mountains blocked the road. That shift changed journalism almost overnight. Reports from distant battles could reach a capital while smoke still hung in the air. Markets could react to prices from far away, and fortunes could rise or fall on a single line of text. It also changed language. Telegrams were paid by length, so writers learned to compress meaning into sharp phrases. Families felt the change too. A birth, a death, or a safe arrival could be shared without weeks of waiting. The telegraph did not only speed up information, it sped up emotion, decision-making, and the sense that the world was becoming one connected stage. A single undersea cable allowed messages to cross oceans in minutes instead of weeks. Imagine the Atlantic as a wall of time. For centuries, a message from Europe to North America took as long as a ship could survive wind and waves. Then, engineers dared to lay a cable on the ocean floor, and suddenly, words could cross in moments. Early attempts failed. Cables snapped, signals faded, and investors panicked. When a working connection finally held, it felt like a new sense had been added to civilization. Diplomacy shifted because governments could negotiate rapidly. Business shifted because orders and prices could be coordinated across continents. Families shifted because separation no longer meant silence. The cable also changed expectations. Once people tasted near-instant communication, patience became harder to accept. A storm at sea still mattered, but it no longer controlled the flow of information. The ocean stayed vast. The delay did not. Refrigeration changed cities by changing food, disease, and work. Before reliable cooling, a city's menu was ruled by distance and seasons. Milk spoiled quickly. Meat demanded hurried slaughter and immediate sale. Ice could help, but it was limited and expensive. Mechanical refrigeration broke that ceiling. It let food travel farther and stay safe longer. That changed diets, and it changed health, since fewer people were poisoned by what they ate. It also created new industries. Cold storage warehouses, refrigerated rail cars, and later supermarket freezers reorganized how neighborhoods shopped and how farms planned harvests. Restaurants and hospitals gained new control over ingredients and medicines. Even the geography of cities shifted. Ports and rail hubs became nodes in a cold chain, and workers built careers around maintaining it. Refrigeration feels ordinary now, yet it is one of the great hidden revolutions. It made modern urban life possible by protecting perishables from time itself. The sewing machine ignited both mass fashion and labor unrest. When stitching became mechanized, clothing stopped being only a craft and started becoming an industry. A machine could drive a needle faster and more consistently than any hand. That meant garments could be produced in large numbers, at lower cost, and in styles that changed quickly. For consumers, it was dazzling. For workers, it could be brutal. Factories demanded speed. Piecework pay pressured people to race the machine. Crowded workshops and long hours turned fashion into a struggle over dignity and safety. The sewing machine also sparked fierce battles over patents and profits. Inventors and companies fought to control the technology, while workers fought to survive its consequences. Out of that tension came unions, reforms, and new expectations about workplace conditions. The deeper story is that a single device can create beauty and hardship at the same time. It can make clothing more accessible, while also revealing who pays for that affordability. Photography turned memory into evidence and changed what truth looked like. A painting can be persuasive, yet it always carries the artist's choices. Photography arrived with a different promise. Light itself could leave a trace, and that trace could be shown to others. Suddenly, people could see faces of strangers, faraway places, and events they had never witnessed. That changed journalism, policing, and science. Photographs documented wars, poverty, and disasters in ways that were hard to dismiss as rumor. They also reshaped private life. Families could keep portraits without commissioning an artist, and moments could be captured before they vanished. Yet the power came with a trap. A camera frames reality. It can be staged, cropped, timed, and manipulated. So photography forced a new kind of skepticism. Viewers had to learn that an image can feel like proof while still being selective. In the modern world, this lesson only grows louder. The camera changed what people believed, and it changed how persuasion worked. The bicycle quietly advanced metallurgy, bearings, and modern road design. The bicycle looks simple, yet it demanded precision. Light frames needed strong metals. Wheels needed tensioned spokes that could survive bumps without collapsing. Chains and gears needed durability, or they would wear out quickly. To meet those demands, manufacturers refined techniques for working steel and machining parts to tighter tolerances. They improved ball bearings, which later mattered for countless machines that spin and roll. The bicycle also helped create a culture of good roads. Riders wanted smoother surfaces, and their advocacy pushed cities and regions to improve infrastructure. That, in turn, benefited carts, cars, and buses that came later. The social impact was just as striking. Bicycles expanded personal nobility for people who could not afford horses, and for many women they offered a new kind of independence in daily movement. A bicycle is not only transport. It is a training ground for modern engineering and a catalyst for how streets are built. The light bulb was an engineering system, not one genius flash. The legend often centers on a single inventor, yet electric light became practical because many pieces had to work together. A filament had to glow without burning out too quickly. A vacuum or inert gas had to protect it. Power stations had to generate electricity reliably. Wiring had to deliver it safely into homes and streets. Switches, sockets, meters, and standards all had to be designed, installed, and trusted. That is why the light bulb belongs to a larger story of networks. Once electric lighting spread, nightlife changed. Factories could run longer hours. Streets could be lit in ways that altered safety and policing. Homes gained new routines, since darkness no longer dictated bedtime. The real wonder is not the glowing thread. It is the coordination behind it, and the way a simple click on a switch depends on hidden systems agreeing to behave. Electric light is a small sun, backed by an entire civilization of engineers. The first movie audiences feared a train, but was not real. When early filmmakers projected a locomotive rushing toward the camera, some viewers reportedly flinched or leaned back, as if the screen were a window that might break. They were not foolish. They were meeting a new kind of experience. Moving pictures did something older art could not do in the same way. They captured motion with convincing immediacy, then delivered it to a crowd at once. That shared shock mattered. It proved that technology could hijack the senses and create emotion on demand. Soon, film became more than a novelty. It became propaganda, education, advertising, and escapism. It created new jobs, new celebrities, and new anxieties about influence. A painted train can be admired. A filmed train can feel present. That difference opened the door to the modern media world, where reality and representation can blur in a heartbeat. Radio made a single voice feel like a nation's heartbeat. A person speaking into a microphone could suddenly be heard in thousands of homes at the same time, with no need for a hall or a ticket. That intimacy was new. Radio turned public life into something that could happen at a kitchen table. Leaders used it to rally support, calm panic, and shape opinion with tone as much as words. Families used it for music, comedy, and serialized stories that made strangers feel familiar. Radio also changed emergencies. Warnings could spread quickly, and communities could respond together. Yet the same power could be used to mislead. A trusted voice can bypass doubt, especially when it arrives in the private space of home. Radio proved that mass communication is not only about information, it is about presence. It can make a faraway event feel close. It can make a distant authority feel like a neighbor. It can knit a nation together, and it can also pull it apart. Early television helped sell a new kind of everyday reality. Television did not only bring entertainment into homes, it brought a template for what normal life should look like. Sitcom families, polished kitchens, and smiling advertisements created a steady stream of expectations. Viewers learned how a living room ought to be arranged, what a successful person ought to buy, and how quickly problems ought to be solved. It shaped politics too. Appearance and performance began to matter alongside policy. because the camera rewarded confidence and clarity. News broadcasts turned distant events into nightly rituals, with images that could linger in the mind longer than any headline. Television also changed time at home. Evenings gained a new center, and conversations often paused for a scheduled program. This was a technology of shared attention. Millions could watch the same moment, then talk about it the next day. That common viewing created community, and it created vulnerability to persuasion that felt harmless. Blood typing turned transfusions from gambling into reliable medicine. Early transfusions were terrifying because doctors could not predict who would survive. Sometimes a patient improved. Sometimes the patient collapsed, as if the rescue itself were poison. The mystery began to clear when researchers identified blood groups and learned that some combinations triggered dangerous immune reactions. Once blood could be typed and matched, transfusion became far safer and far more routine. That changed surgery, childbirth, and trauma care. It also created new systems that had to be built from scratch. Blood banks, storage techniques, donor drives, and screening protocols became part of modern healthcare. In wartime, the ability to move stored blood helped save injured soldiers far from major hospitals. In peacetime, it supported complex operations that would have been unthinkable before. The deeper wonder is that the body recognizes blood as personal. A transfusion only works when biology agrees with identity at a microscopic level. A simple label on a vial became a bridge between strangers, built on immune trust. The first antibiotics created a race that bacteria never stopped running. When antibiotics arrived, they felt like a miracle that would last forever. Infections that once turned a scratch into a funeral could suddenly be treated with a course of pills. Hospitals changed. Surgery expanded. Childhood illnesses became less frightening in many places. Then the race began. Bacteria reproduce quickly, and mutations appear by chance. If a drug kills nearly all of them, the rare survivors can multiply. Over time, resistance spreads, especially when antibiotics are used too often or stopped too early. The story becomes a lesson in evolution that plays out on a human timescale. Each new antibiotic is an advantage, not a final victory. Medicine must keep discovering, while microbes keep adapting. That tension has shaped farming, hospitals, and public health policy. It has also shaped personal choices, since every prescription carries a shared responsibility. Antibiotics are one of the greatest tools ever made, and they remind us that nature responds to pressure with creativity of its own. The transistor replaced glowing tubes and began the quiet chip age. Early electronics relied on vacuum tubes, which ran hot, broke easily, and demanded lots of power. They worked, yet they made computers huge and fragile. The transistor changed the mood of technology. It could switch and amplify using solid materials, with far less energy and far greater reliability. That single shift opened the path to smaller radios, then smaller computers, then entire industries built around miniaturization. Over time, transistors were packed together into integrated circuits, and those circuits became the beating heart of modern life. What makes the story so astonishing is the scale of change from something so small. A transistor is not dramatic to watch. It has no flame, no moving parts, no satisfying clank. Its power is silent multiplication. Once you can make many tiny switches, you can build logic, memory, and control into almost anything. The transistor did not only shrink machines, it made them portable, affordable, and eventually personal. A single invention, the laser, now touches nearly every industry. The laser began as a strange triumph of physics, a device that could produce highly focused light with remarkable purity, At first, it seemed like a solution looking for a problem. Then applications multiplied. Lasers read barcodes and stored data on disks. They cut steel in factories with clean precision. They help surgeons reshape corneas and seal blood vessels. They measure distances for construction, and they guide instruments for delicate alignment. They even carry information through fiber optic cables that form the nervous system of the internet. What is captivating is the versatility. Light becomes a tool that can cut, measure, communicate, and heal, depending on how it is shaped. The laser also shows how an invention can mature. Early devices were bulky and temperamental. Later versions became small, reliable, and cheap enough to hide inside everyday products. A beam you cannot touch can still change the material world, and it can do it with astonishing control. Rocketry grew from fireworks, mathematics, and terrifying military urgency. Rockets began as spectacle. Fireworks delighted crowds with color and noise. Yet they also proved a principle. Thrust can come from pushing exhaust backward. Over centuries, curiosity and calculation turned that principle into engineering. Mathematicians described trajectories and fuel needs. Tinkerers tested designs that often failed dramatically. Then geopolitics poured fuel onto the effort. In the 20th century, rockets became weapons with unprecedented reach. After the war, that same knowledge was redirected towards space, although the military shadow never fully disappeared. The result was a technology that can terrify and inspire in the same breath. Rockets can deliver destruction across continents. They can also lift satellites that enable navigation, weather forecasting, and global communication. They can send probes to other planets, carrying instruments that act as remote sensors for all humanity. The deeper fascination is that rocketry forces a bargain with physics. Every kilogram matters. Every calculation matters. Small errors become disasters, and success becomes transcendence. Satellites made Earth measurable, and borders strangely visible from space. When humans first placed machines into orbit, the world gained new eyes. Satellites could watch storms form, track ocean currents, and measure changes in ice and forests over years. They could map the planet with consistency that no traveler could match. That data reshaped science, agriculture, and disaster response because patterns became visible at scale. Satellites also changed politics. Borders that feel absolute on the ground can look oddly delicate from above, like lines drawn on a living surface. Surveillance became possible without crossing a frontier. Verification became possible too, since treaties and troop movements could be monitored with images rather than rumors. Daily life quietly absorbed satellite services through navigation, timing signals, and communications. What makes satellites feel almost magical is their calm persistence. They circle again and again, collecting facts about a planet that never sits still. They turn Earth into a dataset, and that dataset becomes power. The shipping container made globalization mundane and astonishingly cheap. Before standardized containers, cargo was handled piece by piece. Workers unloaded sacks, crates, and barrels by hand, and every transfer invited delays, damage, and theft. The simple idea of a sealed metal box changed the math of trade. A container could be packed once, locked, and moved smoothly from truck to train to ship, with cranes built for the same dimensions. Ports that once took days to unload could move goods in hours. That speed lowered costs so much, the distance began to feel smaller, even for everyday products. It also reshaped geography. Some ports boomed, others faded. Factories could spread across continents because parts could arrive on predictable schedules. The container is not glamorous, yet it built the modern supply chain. It turned the planet into a workshop, one stackable box at a time. The barcode changed retail by making every object machine-readable. A checkout line used to depend on AIs, memory, and handwritten tags. Prices could be misread. Inventory could be guessed. The barcode replaced that uncertainty with a fast, scannable identity for each product. Suddenly, a cashier could ring up items with a beep, and a store could know what sold, when it sold, and what needed restocking. That changed far more than convenience. It reshaped logistics, since warehouses could track movement in real time. It changed marketing, because sales data could reveal patterns that no manager could notice by walking the aisles. It even changed packaging, since products had to carry a readable symbol. Behind that small set of lines is a quiet revolution. When objects become legible to machines, the whole economy speeds up. The modern retail world runs on that simple promise that every item can introduce itself instantly. The first video game began as a science lab distraction. It did not start as an industry or even as a product. It started as play, created by people surrounded by serious machines and serious expectations. In the early days of computing, some researchers used spare time and spare hardware to make interactive experiments, including tennis-like games displayed on TMU screens. The point was not profit. The point was wonder. A computer could do more than calculate. It could respond to a person in a loop of action and feedback. That idea would grow into arcades, consoles, and the vast culture of modern gaming. Yet the origin remains charming. A handful of minds looked at expensive equipment and asked a childlike question: what if we made it fun? That shift matters in the history of technology. Play is often the testing ground where new interfaces, new graphics, and new social habits appear before anyone knows they are important. The mouse made computers feel human and changed who could use them. Early computers could feel like locked rooms. You needed special commands, careful syntax, and the confidence to type into a blinking prompt. The mouse helped open the door. By letting a hand guide a pointer, it turned the screen into a place you could touch without actually touching it. Icons, menus, and windows became easier to explore, since you could click instead of memorize. That lowered the barrier for office workers, students, and families who had never studied programming. It also reshaped software design. Developers began thinking visually, arranging tools in space rather than hiding them in text. The mouse did not make computers simple. It made them approachable. It gave people a sense of control that felt physical, even though it was still digital. In a quiet way, it democratized computing. The modern idea of personal technology depends on that moment, when the machine stopped demanding a specialist and started inviting a user. The personal computer moved computing from institutions into bedrooms. Computers were once rare, expensive, and guarded by organizations. Access often meant permission, schedules, and specialized rooms. The personal computer changed that by shrinking cost and size, and by bringing computation into private life. A student could learn to code at home. A musician could experiment with digital sound. A small business could manage accounts without renting time on a mainframe. Hobbyists wrote early software, shared it in clubs, and built communities around tinkering. That cultural shift mattered as much as the hardware. When people live with computers, they start imagining new uses every day. Games, word processing, early desktop publishing, and later home internet all grew from that closeness. It also changed identity. Knowing how to use a computer became part of being modern, and a new digital divide appeared between those with access and those without. The personal computer did not only change work, it changed childhood, creativity, and the shape of home life. Email became popular because it solved boredom in early networks. In the early networked world, many users were researchers and students with access to shared systems. They could run programs and exchange files. Yet social connection was limited by distance and time. Email provided an instant reason to log in, even when there was no official task waiting. People began leaving messages, jokes, announcements, and arguments. It became a kind of digital hallway conversation, and it quickly turned into the most used feature on many networks. That popularity also revealed something important. Communication is often the killer application. Once people can send written thoughts easily, the network becomes personal. Email changed work habits too. Decisions moved into inboxes. Teams coordinated across time zones. Records of conversations could be saved, forwarded, and misunderstood in new ways. It also created new etiquette. Subject lines, replies, and tone became skills. A tool that began as convenience became a new layer of daily life, shaping attention and expectations about responsiveness. The World Wide Web was built to share research, not shopping. The web began as an attempt to make information easier to connect. Researchers had documents scattered across incompatible systems, and collaboration suffered. The web offered a simple, elegant idea. Use links that can point from one page to another, so knowledge can be navigated like a map. That required shared standards, which allowed anyone to publish and anyone to read with the right software. In its early life, the web felt like a library that could grow without walls. It was open, messy, and thrilling. Only later did commerce rush in, building storefronts, ads, and entire business models on top of the same linking system. What makes the origin so fascinating is its humility. It was not designed to conquer culture. It was designed to help colleagues share findings. Yet once linking became easy, every community found a use for it. The web turned information into a place you could visit, and it made curiosity tickable. Search engines reshaped curiosity by deciding what counts as findable. A library without a catalog is overwhelming. The web grew so quickly that people needed guides, and search engines became those guides. They do more than retrieve pages. They rank them. That ranking quietly teaches users what to trust, what to ignore, and what questions feel worth asking. It can elevate an obscure idea into prominence or bury a valuable source beneath louder competitors. Search also changes behavior. Writers learn to title, phrase, and structure information in ways that match what people type. Businesses learn to compete for attention through optimization. Even memory changes. When answers seem one query away, people store fewer details and rely more on access. The fascinating tension is that search feels neutral, yet it is shaped by algorithms, incentives, and human choices about relevance. In a sense, search engines are modern gatekeepers of knowledge. They do not just reflect curiosity, they steer it. Wikipedia became the biggest reference work through strangers cooperating at scale. For centuries, encyclopedias were expensive monuments built by experts and publishers. Wikipedia flipped the model by inviting anyone to contribute, then relying on communities to correct, debate, and refine. That sounds chaotic, and sometimes it is. Yet the scale is the miracle. Millions of articles in many languages updated rapidly when events unfold. Mistakes can appear. Mistakes can also be fixed quickly because many eyes watch the same pages. The system depends on rules, discussion, citations, and patient volunteers who argue over wording because accuracy matters. It also reveals something hopeful about technology. Strangers can build a shared resource without meeting, without being paid, and without agreeing on everything. Wikipedia has shaped education, journalism, and everyday curiosity, since it often becomes the first stop for a new question. It is not perfect, yet its existence is astonishing. A global reference library, maintained by the public, proves that cooperation can scale as powerfully as competition. GPS works because clocks in space need relativity corrections. GPS feels like a simple service. Your phone checks satellites, then shows a dot on a map. Underneath, it is a triumph of timing. Satellites carry extremely precise clocks, and your receiver compares signals to calculate distance. The catch is that time is not the same everywhere. In orbit, satellites experience different effects than clocks on Earth, due to motion and gravity. If engineers ignored those relativistic differences, GPS positions would drift badly, and navigation would become unreliable. So the system bakes Einstein's ideas into everyday life, quietly correcting time so location stays accurate. That is one of the most mind-bending pieces of modern technology history. A theory that once sounded abstract now helps drivers find exits, helps planes land safely, and helps ships cross open water with confidence. Every accurate GPS fix is a small daily proof that space-time is real, and that physics can become infrastructure. Touchscreens were imagined decades before they became affordable. Long before phones became slabs of glass, engineers were already dreaming of screens you could touch. Early systems were bulky and expensive, and they often lived in labs, factories, or research demos rather than living rooms. Some used grids of sensors. Others relied on special coatings that could detect contact. The idea was captivating because it promised direct control without a keyboard between you and the machine. Yet for years, it stayed out of reach for most people. Screens were fragile, components were costly, and software was not yet built for fingers. When materials improved and manufacturing scaled up, the old dream suddenly fit into a pocket. Then, design exploded. Buttons grew larger. Gestures replaced commands. A swipe became a universal language. What feels natural now is the result of a very long incubation, where a future interface waited patiently for the world to catch up. The smartphone combined dozens of inventions into one pocket tool. A smartphone is less like a single invention and more like a crowded museum that happens to make phone calls. Inside it, you have a camera, a microphone, a speaker, a radio, a GPS receiver, a computer, and a sensor suite that can detect motion and orientation. You also have software that turns those parts into new abilities, like turn-by-turn navigation, instant translation, and video calls that cross oceans without a second thought. The historical shock is how many separate technologies had to mature before this could feel seamless. Batteries needed enough energy. Chips needed to shrink. Networks needed to handle constant data. Displays needed to be bright and durable. The result changed habits worldwide. A map stopped being a folded object. A photo stopped being rare. A message stopped being delayed. This little device became a passport to services, memories, and identities, and it did it by bundling an entire century of progress into one hand. Lithium batteries made mobility quiet, dense, and dangerously powerful. Batteries are often treated as boring, yet they decide what can move without a cord. Lithium-based batteries changed the balance by storing a lot of energy for their weight. That made laptops truly portable, and it made electric vehicles more practical. It also created whole new categories, like pocket-sized music players, slim power tools, and drones that can stay aloft long enough to be useful. The flip side is that dense energy demands respect. If a cell is damaged, overheated or poorly manufactured, it can fail dramatically. That risk shaped safety standards, shipping rules, and the design of protective circuits that monitor temperature and charging. The history here is a story of trade-offs. Every leap in energy storage unlocks freedom, and it also raises the stakes of mistakes. Lithium batteries helped put modern life on the move, and they remind us that power always has a personality. The camera in your phone is a descendant of spy technology. Tiny cameras did not become tiny by accident. For decades, intelligence work pushed optics and film towards smaller, sharper, more discrete forms. Designers learned how to shrink lenses, reduce noise, and capture images quickly under difficult conditions. Later, the digital revolution replaced film with sensors, and the same pressure to miniaturize moved into silicon. Phone cameras benefited from that lineage, and then sprinted forward for a new reason. Consumers wanted better photos, in thinner devices, at lower cost. That demand poured money into sensor design, image processing, and lens manufacturing at massive scale. Now your camera does more than record light. It corrects blur, balances color, and stitches exposures together in milliseconds. The result is a kind of everyday superpower. You can document a moment instantly, share it globally, and store it without a shoebox of prints. A tool once tied to secrecy has become a tool of daily memory and sometimes of public accountability. Social media rewired news by rewarding speed over certainty. When news depended on printing presses and scheduled broadcasts, there were natural pauses where editors could verify details. Social media removed many of those breaks. Anyone can post instantly, and the posts that spread fastest are often the ones that trigger strong feelings. That creates a pressure cooker. Journalists compete with rumors. Institutions scramble to respond before a narrative hardens. Even eyewitness footage can mislead when it lacks context or when it is clipped and reposted without explanation. The technology changed how people discover events too. Many users do not visit a homepage. They see whatever rises in a feed, which is shaped by engagement rather than public value. That shift can elevate overlooked stories, and it can also magnify falsehoods. The historical lesson is not that people suddenly became gullible. It is that distribution became automatic, and attention became the currency. In that environment, speed often wins the first round, and truth has to fight to catch up. Memes spread like folk technology, evolving faster than laws. A meme is not only a joke. It is a format that people can copy, remix, and deploy for their own purposes. That makes it feel like folklore with a turbocharger. A phrase, an image, or a simple template can mutate in hours as thousands of minds add variations. Some memes are harmless play. Others become political weapons, advertising tools, or social signals that mark who is in the group. What makes memes historically fascinating is how they behave like technology. They have interfaces, meaning the template. They have updates, meaning the remix. They have networks, meaning the platforms that carry them. And they have failure modes, meaning misunderstanding and backlash. Laws and institutions move slowly because they aim for stability. Memes do not. They reward novelty, speed, and inside knowledge. In a modern information landscape, memes are a kind of cultural machinery, compressing complex emotions into shareable packets that can cross languages and borders before anyone agrees on what they mean. Streaming changed music by turning ownership into access. For much of modern history, music meant an object. A record, a cassette, a compact disc, and later a downloaded file you could keep. Streaming flipped that relationship. Instead of collecting albums, listeners gained a vast library that lives somewhere else, available on demand. That changed discovery. Recommendation systems nudged people toward new songs, and playlists became as influential as radio once was. It also changed how artists get paid, since revenue now depends on plays at scale rather than a single purchase. That shift influenced song structure too. Hooks often arrive sooner because skipping is easy. Genres blend faster because audiences sample widely. For listeners, the feeling is magical. Any song can appear in seconds. For the industry, it is a new economy built on data, licensing, and platform power. Streaming made music feel weightless, yet behind the ease is a complicated machine deciding what gets heard, what gets buried, and what becomes the soundtrack of a generation. Encryption protects ordinary life with mathematics too strong to guess. Most people use encryption without thinking about it. When you send a private message, log into a bank, or buy something online, encryption helps keep strangers from reading or altering what you send. The core idea is beautifully simple. You scramble information with a key, and without that key, the message becomes useless noise. What makes it awe-inspiring is the scale. Modern encryption relies on mathematical problems that are easy to set up, yet unimaginably hard to reverse by brute force. That strength turns privacy into infrastructure. It protects not only secrets, but also trust in daily transactions. Without it, the internet would feel like shouting across a crowded room. Encryption also raises political tension, because the same protection that guards families and businesses can also shield criminals. That debate is ongoing, and it has shaped laws and technology design. Still, the historical milestone remains. Human societies once relied on sealed letters and locked doors. Now they also rely on invisible locks made of math, traveling at the speed of light. Digital money began as a dream, then became an industry. The dream was tempting. What if value could move as easily as an email, without waiting for banks and without carrying cash? Early digital money ideas struggled with a central problem, which is trust. If a file represents money, what stops someone from copying it? Different systems answered in different ways, from centralized ledgers run by companies to decentralized networks where many computers agree on a shared record. As adoption grew, digital money became more than a niche experiment. It attracted investors, skeptics, regulators, and opportunists. It also created new services, including digital wallets, exchanges, and payment rails that cross borders quickly. The history is still unfolding, and it is full of sharp lessons about security, speculation, and human psychology. Yet the fascination is clear. Money has always been a social technology, built on shared belief. Digital money simply makes that belief run on code, networks, and sometimes on communities that do not share a flag. A data center can use as much power as a small city. When people imagine the internet, they often picture clouds, meaning something airy and distant. In reality, much of it lives in warehouses full of servers. These machines store photos, stream videos, run searches, and support the everyday apps that feel weightless on a phone. All of that computing consumes electricity, and it also produces heat, which demands cooling. The result can be a staggering appetite for power and water, especially when many facilities cluster in one region. Data centers also require reliability. Backup generators, redundant connections, and careful monitoring are built in, because a short outage can ripple into millions of lives. Historically, this is a new kind of industrial landscape. Instead of smokestacks, you get humming racks and thick fiber cables. Instead of shipping raw materials, you move information. Yet the physical costs are real, and they shape debates about energy grids, carbon impact, and where the digital world should actually live. The first robotic surgery tools extended hands into places fingers cannot go. In the late 20th century, surgeons began using robotic systems that translate a human hand's movement into tiny, steady motions inside the body. Instead of a large opening, instruments could enter through small incisions, and the surgeon could operate while looking through magnified views. That combination made delicate work possible in tight spaces, and it reduced tremor in a way no human wrist can fully manage. It also changed training. Surgeons had to learn a new kind of touch, where feedback comes through visuals and controls rather than direct fingertips. Patients often benefited through smaller scars and quicker recovery, though the technology also raised questions about cost and access. The historical shift is profound. Surgery started as brute necessity, then became precision craft, and now it is becoming mediated by machines that extend the human body's reach, wild brawl, keeping the human mind in control. Prosthetics became smarter when microprocessors learned a walking rhythm. A traditional artificial limb can be sturdy and useful, yet it often behaves the same way on every step. Microprocessor-controlled prosthetics change that by sensing motion and adjusting in real time. Tiny computers can read signals from sensors, estimate what the wearer is trying to do, and respond with smoother resistance and timing. That matters most on stairs, slopes, and uneven ground, where a fixed mechanical response can feel awkward or unsafe. The result is not only comfort. It is confidence, since a more natural gait can reduce strain on hips and back. This technology also rewrites the relationship between person and device. The limb becomes a partner that adapts, rather than a tool that must be forced to comply. Behind the scenes, it is a triumph of engineering, batteries, and careful calibration. In the long story of technology, it is a reminder that progress is not always about speed or power. Sometimes it is about restoring ease, dignity, and everyday freedom. Hearing implants translate sound into electricity and teach brains anew. When sound cannot reach the inner ear in the usual way, a cochlear implant offers a different route. A microphone captures sound, a processor converts it into signals, and electrodes stimulate the auditory nerve directly. That means the brain receives patterns of electrical pulses rather than ordinary vibrations. It can be life-changing, yet it is not instant magic. Many recipients describe a period of learning where the brain must interpret new kinds of input and gradually make sense of it. Voices can sound unfamiliar at first, and everyday environments can feel strangely busy. Over time, many people gain clearer speech understanding, and some discover new dimensions of sound they never had before. The history here is astonishing because it merges biology and electronics into a working bridge. It also highlights how adaptable the nervous system can be. Technology does not only replace a function, it can invite the brain to rewire itself and to find meaning in a new language of signals. MRI lets magnets and math reveal living anatomy without cutting. Magnetic resonance imaging is one of the most surreal medical inventions because it can show soft tissue in rich detail without a single incision. The patient lies inside a strong magnetic field, and radio waves nudge atoms in the body. As those atoms relax, they emit signals that can be detected and reconstructed into images through heavy computation. The experience feels almost like science fiction, yet its impact is practical. Doctors can spot tumors, strokes, torn ligaments, and spinal problems with remarkable clarity. Researchers can even study how the brain changes during tasks or disease. What makes MRI historically fascinating is that it took ideas from physics and turned them into everyday diagnosis. It also demanded new kinds of engineering, from superconducting magnets to sophisticated shielding and safety protocols. In earlier eras, seeing inside the body often required pain, risk, or inference from symptoms. MRI changed that balance, and it made pain visible while leaving the skin untouched. The pacemaker turned a heartbeat into an adjustable setting. For centuries, the heartbeat was treated as a mystery you could listen to, but not command. Pacemakers changed that by using small electrical pulses to keep a heart beating at a stable rate when its natural rhythm fails. Early devices were bulky and experimental, then they became implantable, reliable, and programmable. That progression turned the heartbeat into something doctors could manage with precision. Modern pacemakers can sense what the heart is doing, respond to activity levels, and record data that helps guide care. The shift is emotional as well as medical. A person with a dangerous rhythm problem can regain a sense of safety, not because the problem vanished, but because a device stands ready to intervene. Historically, this is a striking example of technology moving into the body, not as decoration, but as a guardian of time. Every pulse is a reminder that life can be supported by circuitry, and that biology and engineering can share responsibility for survival. Lab-grown organs began with cells that refused to follow the rules. The dream of growing replacement tissue did not start with a perfect plan. It grew out of stubborn facts about cells. Under the right conditions, some cells can multiply, organize, and even form structures that resemble tiny versions of organs. Researchers learned to guide that potential with scaffolds, growth factors, and carefully tuned environments. Early successes often involved simpler tissues, like skin and cartilage, because they have fewer requirements for blood supply and structure. Over time, scientists began building organoids, which are small, lab-grown clusters that can model parts of the brain, gut, or other systems. These are not full organs ready for every transplant, yet they are powerful tools for studying disease and testing drugs. The history is compelling because it shows a new kind of craftsmanship. Instead of carving wood or forging metal, researchers coax living matter to build itself. The surprise is that the body's building blocks can still remember how to assemble, even outside the body, if given the right signals and support. Gene editing became easier when bacteria revealed their immune tricks. Bacteria have been fighting viruses for billions of years, and they evolved clever defenses. One of those defenses became a breakthrough tool for humans. Scientists learned that certain bacteria keep molecular mugshots of past viral invaders and use that memory to guide enzymes that cut matching genetic sequences. By adapting this system, researchers gained a way to target specific DNA locations with surprising precision. That made gene editing faster, cheaper, and more accessible to labs around the world. The consequences are enormous. It opened new possibilities for studying disease, engineering crops, and exploring therapies for inherited conditions. It also raised urgent ethical questions, especially around editing embryos and changing traits that could be passed to future generations. In the history of technology, this is a perfect twist. A microscopic survival strategy built for bacteria's daily war became a human instrument for rewriting life's instructions. It reminds us that innovation sometimes arrives by borrowing solutions already invented by nature. Clean water systems saved more lives than most famous medicines. If you want a quiet hero of modern history, look at pipes, filters, and treatment plants. In many places, the biggest drop in infectious deaths came not from a single drug, but from preventing pathogens from reaching people in the first place. When cities built systems to separate drinking water from waste, outbreaks of cholera and typhoid became far less common. Chlorination and filtration added extra layers of protection, and monitoring made safety measurable rather than hopeful. This technology also changed childhood. Fewer children were lost to diarrheal disease, which reshaped family life and public health planning. Clean water is easy to take for granted because it hides underground and because it does its job silently. Yet it is one of the most powerful tools ever built, since it turns a dangerous necessity into a reliable resource. Historically, it also required politics, investment, and maintenance, which means its benefits are never automatic. Where clean water reaches, life expectancy rises, and whole societies gain breathing room to flourish. Soap and sanitation were technologies that overcame denial and habit. Soap is not merely a cosmetic product. It is a chemical strategy that breaks apart oils and helps remove microbes from skin and surfaces. When paired with sanitation systems and hygiene practices, it can cut disease transmission in a way that feels almost too simple. The hard part was never the chemistry. The hard part was belief and behavior. For a long time, many people resisted the idea that invisible agents could spread illness. Even when evidence grew, habits were stubborn, and infrastructure was uneven. Hand-washing campaigns, hospital reforms, and safer childbirth practices slowly changed expectations. The story includes pioneers who argued for cleanliness in the face of ridicule, and tragedies that forced communities to learn. This is why the history is so gripping. Some technologies are dramatic machines. Others are routines that must be adopted again and again, in every home and every ward. Soap and sanitation show that progress can depend on culture as much as invention. A bar of soap can be a public health revolution, but only if people choose to use it. Modern anesthesia made surgery possible, and also deeply mysterious. Before anesthesia, surgery was a race against pain, panic, and shock. Speed mattered more than finesse, and many procedures were simply unthinkable. Anesthesia changed that by allowing patients to undergo operations without conscious suffering, which opened the door to longer, more precise surgery. Yet even now, anesthesia carries mystery. Doctors can control awareness, memory, and sensation with drugs, but consciousness itself remains one of science's hardest questions. Anesthesia is not the same as sleep. It is a carefully managed state that must be maintained and then reversed safely, while vital functions are watched minute by minute. Its history includes dramatic public demonstrations, professional rivalries, and a gradual growth of safety practices that made it routine rather than terrifying. The fascination is that a human mind can be gently switched off and on, with chemistry and monitoring, while a body continues its silent work. In the story of technology, anesthesia is a reminder that some of our most powerful tools operate on the edge of the unknown and still demand trust. The first skyscrapers depended on steel frames, not stronger stone. For most of history, tall buildings had a simple enemy: their own weight. Stone and brick walls had to be thick at the bottom to hold everything above, so height quickly became impractical. Steel framing changed the rules. Instead of walls carrying the load, an internal skeleton did the heavy work, and the outer walls could become lighter curtains that mainly kept weather out. That opened a new kind of city, where offices could stack upward on valuable land, and elevators could serve floors that once would have been unreachable. Chicago and New York became early proving grounds, with engineers learning how to handle wind sway, fire risk, and foundation limits. The skyscraper was not only an architectural style, it was a structural idea that turned height into rentable space and made the skyline a financial instrument. Suspension bridges work by letting tension do the heavy lifting. A stone arch bridge is strongest when it pushes, but a suspension bridge becomes powerful by pulling. Thick cables stretch between towers and anchor into the ground, and the roadway hangs from those cables like a necklace. This lets bridges span distances that would be impossible with simple beams, because tension spreads the load along the cable rather than concentrating it in one rigid ébrage. Peace. The engineering challenge is balancing forces that never sit still. Wind can set decks moving, temperature can change cable length, and traffic creates shifting patterns of weight. Designers learned these lessons the hard way, and every major bridge reflects a history of testing and refinement. Suspension bridges changed geography in a practical sense. They linked islands to mainlands, stitched valleys into commutes, and made ports and cities grow toward each other. They are also emotional monuments because they make empty air feel walkable. The Panama Canal was as much a medical victory as engineering. The canal is often described as a triumph of digging and dynamite, yet disease was the force that could stop everything. Earlier efforts, especially the French attempt, were devastated by yellow fever and malaria. Workers could not build when they were constantly sick or dying. The breakthrough came when public health measures were treated like essential machinery. Mosquito control, drainage, screened housing, sanitation, and organized medical care reduced the toll and made sustained work possible. Only then could the engineering challenges, including massive earth-moving and landslide control, be faced at scale. The canal changed global trade by shrinking routes between oceans, but its deeper lesson is about invisible enemies. A project can fail not because the plans are wrong, but because biology refuses to cooperate. The Panama Canal shows how technology sometimes advances only when medicine, infrastructure, and human welfare are engineered together. Air conditioning reshaped migration, architecture, and the global economy. Heat once acted like a firm border around where dense cities could comfortably grow. Air conditioning softened that border. It made offices productive during hot seasons, made hospitals safer, and made high-rise living more comfortable in humid climates. Over time, it reshaped where people chose to live and where companies chose to expand. Sunbelt cities in the United States grew dramatically in the 20th century, and many modern megacities rely on cooling to function through brutal summers. Buildings changed too. Architects could design sealed glass towers that would have been miserable without climate control. The consequences include new patterns of energy use and new vulnerabilities during power failures. The history is fascinating because it shows a technology that changes the map without moving a single mountain. Cooling altered daily life, business hours, and even fashion choices, and it helped turn certain regions into economic powerhouses simply by making indoor air predictable. Modern farming depends on fertilizer made from air and pressure. For most of history, farms were limited by natural nitrogen sources like manure, compost, and crop rotation. That cap meant food supply could not easily match population growth. The Haber-Bosch process changed the ceiling by turning nitrogen from the air into ammonia using high pressure, catalysts, and large amounts of energy. It is hard to overstate what that enabled. Synthetic fertilizer boosted yields across vast areas, and it helped prevent famines in many regions as the 20th century progressed. It also created a new dependency, since modern agriculture now leans on industrial inputs and global supply chains. There are environmental costs too, including runoff that can damage waterways and emissions linked to production and use. That tension makes the story gripping. One of the most life-supporting technologies on Earth is also one that must be handled with care. It is alchemy on an industrial scale, pulling fertility out of the sky, then deciding how wisely to use it. The Green Revolution saved millions and created new ecological puzzles. In the mid-20th century, new crop varieties, irrigation projects, fertilizers, and pesticides combined to raise yields dramatically in parts of CAR, Asia and Latin America. For many families, it meant the difference between chronic hunger and reliable calories. The success was not only scientific, it depended on distribution, training, credit, and politics, because seeds alone do not transform a farm. Yet the gains came with complications that still echo. High-yield systems often favored regions with good water access and farmers who could afford inputs, which could widen inequality. Monocultures increased vulnerability to pests and disease, and heavy chemical use created soil and water challenges. The Green Revolution is a perfect example of technology as a bargain. It can solve one urgent problem while revealing others that were easier to ignore. The fascination lies in how quickly food systems can change, and how every solution becomes a new set of questions about resilience, fairness, and long-term stewardship. Nuclear power began with wartime physics, then split into many destinies. Nuclear technology surged from the intense pressures of the Second World War, when physics, engineering, and secrecy were fused into a single urgent effort. After the war, the atom's image fractured into competing futures. One path led to weapons that could end cities in moments, shaping diplomacy through fear and deterrence. Another path led to civilian electricity, where controlled fission could produce enormous energy from small amounts of fuel. Nuclear power plants promised cleaner air than coal, and also demanded extraordinary safety culture, since the consequences of failure are severe. Accidents and near misses influenced public trust, regulation, and design. Meanwhile, nuclear science also produced benefits in medicine and research, from imaging to cancer treatment methods. This is why the history feels so charged. Few technologies carry such extreme dual meanings, hope and dread in the same word. The atom became a symbol of modern power, and it forced societies to confront how much risk they will accept for energy, security, and progress. Nuclear tests changed Earth's chemistry and left a global timestamp. Above-ground nuclear tests scattered radioactive isotopes through the atmosphere, and those particles drifted around the world before settling into soils, oceans, and living tissue. The amounts varied by location and era, and most places carry only trace signatures today, yet the marker is real. Scientists can detect bomb peak radiocarbon from the mid-20th century, and it appears in tree rings, corals, and even in some human tissues formed during that period. In effect, nuclear testing wrote a date into the planet's materials, like an invisible stamp that future researchers can read. That is both eerie and scientifically useful. It helps date certain biological and geological samples, and it illustrates how human actions can alter global systems in ways that persist for decades. The tests were political theater and military experimentation, but they also became accidental planet-wide experiments in atmospheric circulation. Environmental uptake. It is a reminder that some technologies leave fingerprints that time does not easily wash away. Space probes have flown past planets, carrying messages for strangers. A space probe is a robot explorer that travels where no human can survive, running on sunlight or radioactive power, listening to faint commands across enormous distances. When probes like Pioneer and Voyager left Earth, their missions were scientific, yet they also carried symbolic messages. Plaques and records were attached as greetings to any intelligence that might someday find them, offering pictures, sounds, and a sense of who launched them. The likelihood of discovery is tiny, but the gesture matters. It turns exploration into communication, and it frames humanity as a species that wants to be understood. Meanwhile, the science is breathtaking. Flybys revealed active volcanoes, icy worlds, rings, and complex atmospheres, reshaping what we thought planets could be. A probe is history in motion. It is engineering, curiosity, and philosophy in one object, drifting through the solar system long after its builders are gone. The Voyager record is a museum for beings we cannot imagine. In the late 1970s, the Voyager probes left Earth carrying something more than instruments. Bolted to each craft is a golden record, a time capsule meant for any intelligence that might one day intercept a drifting human artifact. The record holds sounds of Earth, greetings in many languages, music from different cultures, and images that try to explain what we are and where we came from. It is a museum with no building and no curator, traveling in deep space long after the people who made it are gone. What makes it so moving is the audience. It is not a future human generation. It is a stranger, perhaps a machine, perhaps a mind with senses we cannot guess. The record is both confidence and humility. It says, we exist. It says we wonder. It says we hope to be understood. In the history of technology, it is a reminder that our tools can carry our imagination farther than our bodies, and our message can outlive our world. The first AI boom promised too much, then quietly returned stronger. In the mid-20th century, early researchers looked at chess, logic puzzles, and language, then made a bold prediction that human-level intelligence was close cane. Funding surged, labs grew, and headlines soared. Reality pushed back. Computers were slow, data was scarce, and many real-world problems refused to fit into neat rules. When expectations collapsed, budgets shrank, and the field endured AI winters. Then the comeback began in an unglamorous way. Faster chips arrived, cheap storage appeared, and the internet produced oceans of examples to learn from. Instead of handwritten rules, systems began improving by training on experience. Breakthroughs in image recognition and speech brought public attention back, and industry followed. The twist is that the return did not come from one magical idea. It came from patience, engineering, and the steady accumulation of tools that finally made old dreams practical. Machine learning learns patterns, but not meaning, and that matters. A machine learning system can spot subtle patterns in oceans of data, yet it does not understand in the human sense. It learns correlations. If the training examples contain hidden shortcuts, the model will gladly use them. A medical system might learn that a certain hospital logo predicts illness, simply because sicker patients were scanned there. A hiring model might learn old biases, then repeat them with confidence. This is why the meaning problem matters. People can reason about causes. They can ask what would happen if a condition changed. Many models cannot, unless they are designed and tested very carefully. That gap shows up when the world shifts. New slang appears, lighting changes, cameras improve, or a rare event occurs. The model may fail suddenly, even if it seemed brilliant yesterday. The fascination is that these systems feel intelligent, while still being fragile in ways that teach us what human understanding really is. Deepfakes revealed how easily sight can be tricked. For generations, a photograph or a recording carried a quiet authority. It felt like evidence. Deepfakes shook that faith by making realistic synthetic video and audio available to ordinary users. With the right tools and enough examples, a person's face can be animated to say things they never said, and a voice can be mimicked with unsettling accuracy. This is not only a prank problem. It can distort elections, enable fraud, and damage reputations before a correction can catch up. It also creates a new kind of doubt. When real footage appears, people can dismiss it as fake if it is inconvenient. In response, new defenses are emerging, like forensic detectors, watermarking, and verification chains that track media from capture to publication. Deepfakes are frightening, yet they also force a cultural upgrade. We are learning that trust must be earned through context and proof, not just pixels. Quantum computers threaten some codes and force new kinds of security. Most digital security depends on mathematical puzzles that are easy to set up, yet extremely hard to reverse with ordinary computers. Quantum computers challenge that balance for certain widely used methods. In particular, a sufficiently powerful quantum machine could run algorithms that unravel some public key cryptography far faster than classical approaches. The immediate result is not instant collapse, because building large, reliable quantum computers is still difficult. The real impact is the race it triggered. Governments, companies, and researchers are shifting toward post-quantum cryptography, meaning new algorithms designed to resist both classical and quantum attacks. There is also a time travel style worry called harvest now, decrypt later, where encrypted data stolen today might be cracked in the future. That makes the transition urgent for long-lived secrets like medical records and state archives. The story is thrilling because it turns abstract physics into practical geopolitics, and it shows how a new computing paradigm can rewrite the rules of trust. The quantum internet aims to protect messages using physics itself. A quantum internet is not simply a faster version of today's networks. Its promise is different. It aims to transmit quantum states between distant nodes, which can enable forms of security that depend on the laws of nature rather than on computational difficulty. One famous idea is quantum key distribution, where attempts to eavesdrop disturb the system in detectable ways. Another frontier involves entanglement, which can link particles so their states are correlated across distance. Building this is brutally hard. Quantum information is delicate, and it can be ruined by noise, loss, or ordinary heat. Engineers need quantum repeaters, ultra-stable hardware, and careful protocols to extend range. If it succeeds, it could connect quantum computers, enable new sensing, and provide high-assurance communication for critical systems. The wonder is that the network's security is not just a policy choice. It is enforced by how measurement works. That is a rare moment when physics becomes a guardian of privacy. Materials scientists can now design crystals the way composers write music. For much of history, new materials were discovered by luck, then refined by craft. Today, many researchers begin with a desired property, like a battery that charges faster, a solar cell that wastes less energy, or a catalyst that makes cleaner fuels. Then they work backward. They use computation to predict how atoms might arrange in a crystal and how that arrangement might behave. In practice, it is like writing a score for matter. Choose a structure, adjust the ingredients, simulate the performance. Then, attempt synthesis in the lab. This approach has accelerated work on semiconductors, magnets, superconductors, and lightweight alloys. It also changes the pace of invention, because failed experiments can be filtered out before anyone mixes chemicals. The fascination is that the building blocks are unimaginably small, yet the design process is becoming more intentional. We are learning to shape the rules of material reality, one lattice at a time, and that quietly changes every technology that depends on matter. Three-dimensional printing turns files into objects and factories into software. Additive manufacturing flips the old logic of making things. Instead of cutting away material, it builds an object layer by layer from a digital design. That makes shapes possible that traditional tools struggle to carve, including internal channels, lightweight lattices, and parts that combine multiple functions. It can also localize production. A remote site can print a replacement component without waiting for a shipment, as long as it has the right feedstock and a trusted file. In medicine, custom-fit implants and prosthetic sockets can be tailored to individual bodies. In aerospace, reducing weight can save fuel, which makes unusual geometries valuable. The technology also introduces new risks. A design file can be stolen, altered, or printed poorly, and quality control becomes a discipline of its own. The big historical shift is mental. Manufacturing begins to feel like publishing. You can distribute a design, then make it real wherever the printer exists. In that sense, factories become more like software platforms. Drones began as military tools, then found civilian skies. Unmanned aircraft were first developed for dangerous missions where a pilot's life was too costly to risk. Over time, sensors shrank, batteries improved, and control systems became cheaper, and drones spilled into civilian life. Now they can inspect bridges and power lines without putting workers on high ladders. They can map farmland, spot irrigation problems, and help target fertilizer more precisely. In disasters, drones can search flooded neighborhoods, deliver small medical supplies, and give rescuers a fast view of blocked roads. They also changed art and entertainment, creating new camera angles that once required helicopters. Yet their rise forced new rules. Privacy concerns grew. Airspace management became harder. Misuse became possible, from reckless flying to malicious payloads. The fascination is that drones are not a single invention. They are a convergence of navigation, imaging, wireless links, and control software packaged into a tool that can move AIS and sometimes action into places keen. People cannot easily go. Self-driving cars struggle because the world is messier than rules. Driving looks simple until you list what humans handle without noticing. A plastic bag skitters across the road. A cyclist wobbles. A hand signal appears in glare. A police officer directs traffic around a crash with gestures that are not in any manual. Self-driving systems can be impressive on well-marked roads, yet the long tail of rare events is where trouble hides. The car must interpret intent, predict motion, and choose safely under uncertainty. It must also handle social negotiation, like merging politely or reading the hesitation of a pedestrian near a crosswalk. Maps help, but construction changes streets overnight. Sensors help, but rain, snow, and dirt can degrade them. The deeper issue is that the real world is not a controlled test. It is a living scene full of exceptions. That is why autonomy is taking longer than early predictions. It is not only an engineering problem. It is a problem of building machines that can navigate ambiguity without getting anyone hurt. A tiny sensor can map a whole city's invisible pollution. Air pollution is often felt, yet not seen, and that invisibility can hide its uneven impact. Small, low-cost sensors are changing that by making the air measurable block by block. Networks of monitors can reveal pollution hotspots near busy roads, ports, and industrial corridors. They can show how wind pushes exhaust into certain neighborhoods and how levels rise during rush hour. This data can empower public health research, community advocacy, and smarter regulation. It can also guide personal choices, like safer walking routes or when to open windows. The history is compelling because measurement often comes before reform. When a city can see its own air in detail, the conversation changes from vague worry to specific evidence. Of course, sensors must be calibrated and interpreted carefully, or they can mislead. Still, the direction is clear. We are moving toward an era where environmental conditions are no longer guessed. They are mapped, shared, and debated in real time, and that makes the invisible political. Early warning systems can now detect earthquakes before shaking arrives. In some regions, the ground can warn you before it hits you. Earthquakes begin with fast, smaller waves that travel ahead of the slower, damaging shaking. Sensors close to the rupture can detect that first signal, estimate what is coming, and send alerts through networks faster than the strongest waves can spread. The warning may be only seconds, yet seconds are powerful. Trains can slow. Elevators can open at the nearest floor. Surgeons can pause. Gas lines can shut off. Students can move away from windows. The most fascinating part is the race against physics. Engineers are trying to outrun seismic waves with electronics, algorithms, and communication systems. These alerts are not perfect, and they depend on dense sensor coverage and reliable infrastructure. Still, they represent a new chapter in disaster history. It is technology that does not stop nature, yet it buys time, and time can save lives. The global seed vault is a technology for surviving our own mistakes. On a cold Arctic island, a vault stores seeds from crops around the world, sealed and preserved as a backup for food diversity. The idea is simple and profound. If war, drought, disease, or policy failure wipes out local seed collections, humanity still has a copy of the genetic options that farmers built over thousands of years. Each seed holds traits that might matter later, like resistance to pests, tolerance to salt, or the ability to thrive in short growing seasons. This is not a museum for nostalgia. It is an insurance policy for agriculture in a changing climate. The vault also reflects a deep lesson about technology. Modern farming can become uniform, and uniform systems can be fragile. Preserving variety is a form of resilience engineering. The most moving part is that the seed vault is built for a future emergency we cannot predict. It is hope stored in small, quiet packets of life. Climate models run on supercomputers and guide decisions worth trillions. A climate model is a story told in equations, and it has to include oceans, clouds, ice, forests, and human emissions, all interacting across time. That complexity demands supercomputers because the planet does not change in simple steps. Researchers divide Earth into grids, simulate physics inside each region, and let the pieces influence each other. The result is not a crystal ball, yet it is far better than guesswork. Models help estimate future heat, rainfall patterns, sea level rise, and extreme events under different choices. That information shapes policy, insurance, infrastructure planning, and energy investment. In other words, it guides decisions worth trillions, while affecting where people can safely live and farm. The historical wonder is that humanity built a tool to experiment on a virtual Earth, because experimenting on the real one would be catastrophic. It is a new kind of foresight, powered by computation and sharpened by data from satellites, weather stations, and oceans. Reusable rockets changed space economics by treating launches like logistics. For decades, rockets were used once and discarded, which made every launch feel like throwing away an airplane after a single flight. Reusability changed that logic. If a booster can return, land, and fly again, the cost per launch can drop, and launch schedules can become more frequent. That shift reshapes what is possible in space. More satellites can be deployed. Missions can be planned with less fear that one launch will break the budget. Companies can iterate faster, improving designs through repeated flights rather than rare, high-stakes events. This is not easy engineering. Rockets re-enter at extreme speeds, endure intense heat, and must land with precise control. Yet when it works, it turns spaceflight into something closer to a transportation system. The historical significance is that economics often drives exploration as much as curiosity does. Reusable rockets do not only save money, they change the tempo of space activity, moving it from occasional spectacle toward routine capability. The tiniest computer networks now live inside everyday appliances. Your home is quietly filling with computers that do not look like computers. A thermostat can learn schedules. A washing machine can sense load balance. A doorbell can stream video. A light bulb can run its own small operating system. When these devices connect, they become networks of sensors and actuators that respond to routines, voice commands, and remote control. That creates convenience, but it also creates a new kind of domestic infrastructure that can fail in surprising ways. A simple update can change behavior. A weak password can invite intrusion. Compatibility between brands can shape what people buy next. Historically, this is a major shift. Earlier household technology was mechanical and local. If it broke quietly. Networked appliances add layers of software, data, and dependence on external services. The fascination is that the home is becoming a tiny version of a smart city, with its own rules, vulnerabilities, and small miracles. Your kitchen can now participate in the information age, often without you noticing. The cloud is mostly someone else's computers and a lot of cables. The cloud sounds like mist and magic, yet it is intensely physical. It is warehouses of servers, cooling systems, backup power, and teams of technicians, all connected by fiber optic cables that cross cities, countries, and oceans. When you save a photo, stream a show, or open an online document, your request travels through routers and undersea lines to a data center that does the work. This arrangement brings huge benefits. It lets small companies use world-class computing without building their own facilities. It lets you switch devices without losing your files. It also concentrates power and risk. Outages can ripple widely. Policies at a few providers can shape what services exist. The history here is about centralization returning in a new form. Computing began in large institutions, moved into personal devices, and then clustered again into massive shared infrastructure. The cloud is not airy. It is steel, silicon, and geography, and it quietly underpins modern life. The rarest element in a phone can come from conflict zones. A smartphone feels clean and modern, yet its materials often have complicated origins. Some minerals used in electronics are mined in regions where governance is weak and where armed groups have profited from controlling extraction and trade. That reality connects a consumer purchase to distant risks, including exploitation, environmental harm, and violence. Over time, awareness of conflict minerals pushed companies and governments toward traceability efforts, audits, and alternative sourcing. The results are mixed, and supply chains are difficult to monitor, especially when materials pass through many hands and countries. This is why the topic is historically important. Technology is not only design and innovation. It is also logistics, labor, and ethics. A device can be a marvel of engineering while still carrying human stories inside its circuitry. The fascination is sobering. When we hold advanced tools, we are also holding a slice of global history. And sometimes that history includes places where the cost of extraction is paid in tea. Suffering. Understanding that connection is part of understanding technology. Repair culture is returning because complexity makes waste too expensive. For years, many products were designed to be replaced rather than repaired. Parts were sealed. Manuals were hidden. Cheap manufacturing made buying new feel easier than fixing old. Now the tide is shifting, driven by cost, supply disruptions, and a growing awareness of waste. People are rediscovering skills, sharing guides, and demanding access to parts and diagnostics. Repair shops and community fix-it events are growing in many places, and the right to repair movement has pushed the debate into law and policy. The history is fascinating because repair culture is not nostalgia. It is a response to modern complexity. When a device contains rare materials and embedded computing, throwing it away means discarding far more than plastic and metal. Repair also changes how people relate to objects. A fixed item becomes familiar, even treasured, because it carries a story of effort and persistence. In that sense, repair is a kind of quiet rebellion against disposability, and it is also a practical strategy for resilience. Technology history is often accidents, copied ideas, and stubborn persistence. We love the myth of the lone genius, yet many breakthroughs arrive through messy paths. An experiment fails, but something odd appears in the results. A design is borrowed, adapted, and improved by people who never get famous. A tool is ignored for years, then suddenly becomes essential when conditions change. Progress often looks like persistence rather than inspiration. Engineers return to the same problem with better materials, better measurements, and fresh patience. Industries standardize small improvements until the accumulation feels like a leap. Even rivalry can help, since competition forces rapid iteration. This view is not less inspiring. It is more human. It means discovery is not reserved for rare minds struck by lightning. It can emerge from careful notes, shared knowledge, and refusing to quit. The history of technology is full of near misses and second chances, which makes it feel alive. It is a reminder that the future is built not only by brilliant ideas, but by the unglamorous work of testing, copying, and trying again. Every new tool changes us back, shaping how we think and live. When a tool enters daily life, it does more than solve a problem. It rewrites habits, expectations, and even attention. Writing extended memory beyond the brain, which changed how knowledge could accumulate. Clocks reshaped punctuality and the feeling of urgency. Navigation apps reduced the need to memorize routes, which can change how people learn their surroundings. Social platforms reward certain kinds of expression, which can influence how people speak and what they choose to share. Tools also change relationships. They can connect families across distance, and they can interrupt a conversation with a notification. They can expand access to education, and they can create new divides between those who have them and those who do not. The fascinating point is that humans are not separate from their technology. We adapt to it, then we design the next tool around that adaptation. In that loop, inventions become part of culture, and culture becomes part of invention. Technology is not just what we use. It is also what we become. As we reach the end of our journey, you can feel how wide the story of technology really is. We wandered from stone tools that shaped survival to fire that changed what bodies could become. We followed needles and glues, wheels and canals, clocks and codes. We watched messages learn to travel faster than feet, then faster than ships, then faster than thought. We stepped into cities lifted by steel and elevators, and into homes lit by systems that hum behind the walls. We met medicine that sees without cutting, and devices that lend the body new steadiness and new time. We looked up at satellites and out toward probes that carry a small greeting into the dark. And through it all, one theme kept returning. Every tool is a choice that reshapes the world around it and reshapes us right back. It can bring connection, and it can bring consequences. It can offer safety, and it can ask for wisdom. Now you do not need to hold the whole timeline in your mind. Let it drift into the background like a soft constellation of ideas. Feel your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders soften, Allow your breathing to become slower and easier, as if the day is finally setting itself down. If you enjoyed this winding history, you might like to keep going with another calm exploration. You can tap like or subscribe if you want more nights like this, and if you are still awake, a next video will be waiting for you on the screen. Choose it if it sounds comforting, or simply let the quiet return. Thank you for spending this time with me. Sleep well, and good night.